Hello everyone. So, I have wanted to play more Dungeons and Dragons. Unfortunately, I don't have enough friends that want to play Dungeons and Dragons, and I also can't make enough content for more than one group that I am DMing for. So instead, I've decided to try and play it solo. So the world in which our story takes place is a grim and horrific land. There is no name for the land. The people do not care nor need one, as living there is harsh and brutal already. The undead pillage the land itself is infertile and dying, and the pilot of this solo Dungeons & Dragons adventure begins on the path towards a village, named in a record of one of the characters has uncovered. Now let's go to the characters now. We've got our first character. The main character is Asana Veneer. Asana is a level 3 paladin, who is mechanically an Oath of Vengeance paladin, but due to the backstory, which I'll go through in a minute, it is now known as the Oath of Unpaid Debt. 4 or more generations ago, her family accused another family of some sort of heresy, possibly blood magic or demon consorting. The actual accusation has been lost to time, though. However, the accusation was false. Even so, the family was put to death. Very little of the family survived, and those that did cursed Asana's family with a blood debt. And she only knows the curse. Until the debt is paid, one sword descendant of the line of Veneer must protect the surviving blood of the accused family. Asana has been chosen by the Oath to be the protector of the bloodline of the family. She did not ask for this task, however, she must undertake it. She is a human, around the age of 23. Her long white hair has been cut short using a blunt object and is filthy, along with the rest of her worn equipment, from dirt, blood and sweat. The world has been brutal to her. She has had to work very hard in both life and training as a paladin to get where she is today, and now she is forced to pay her family's debts. She speaks matter-of-factly, usually stern, and she is not a shining knight for glory. She is a woman worn down by duty, violence, weather, and poverty. Her equipment shows this. It is battered, repaired, and re-repaired and ugly. Our second character is Varilyn Asterwald. Varilyn is a level 3 divination wizard and is mostly a scholar. Unlike Asana, he has spent most of his time in the library of the wizards he grew up with. He is mostly naive to the nature of the world. This is reflected in his attire. Clean, bright, almost garish garments adorn him, kept clean by his own magic. He, as you might have suspected, is Asana's blood debt. He is the last of the line of the Asterwald family, the family desecrated by the Veneers over 100 years ago. He, as with Asana, is not happy with the situation. However, he wants to get to the truth and clear his family name. She just wants to get out of this debt. So how will this all work then? I will play a solo session of Dungeons & Dragons. I will play it as 2 characters, Asana with the main character, and Varilyn will technically be a companion of sorts when it comes to mechanics. His actions will mainly be the result of rolls. Rolls such as ability checks, saving throws, and combat rolls will be shown on screen. I didn't know how I wanted the screen to look, so the video may change a few times before I settle on layout. Other rolls such as story progression will be done in secret. Once the session has been done, I will expand on various story things as I write up the session to something I can read aloud, which is what we're doing at the minute. As a lot of the results of the story rolls are more abstract actions than paper story beats. The story will include questions to the DM and DM replies, etc. Prologue. Several weeks before the beginning of the session, Varilyn was researching in the library study room when a fellow wizard entered the room and gave Varilyn a sealed letter addressed to him. Opening the letter, it said of a record that would help clear his family name. Several days passed from looking for this record in the library, eventually coming across a footnote that led him to further footnotes and finally to the record he was after. Slipping this parchment into the envelope that contained the clue, he sent word to the only person that would help him discover the truth, the very knight who was sworn to help him, Asana Veneer. With no choice but to help, the duo set out to the village named in the record, a condemned village less than a week away, a village known to have been ravaged by the plague, Marrowden. Session 1, the pilot. Rain has followed you for 3 days. No thunder or lightning to be heard, just cold, harsh rain from the colourless sky. Roads turn from dirt to mud as you traverse the only path to this desolate village. By the time you reach the old village road, the sun has almost gone. Ahead of you, the path bends between 2 dead trees, their branches leaning towards each other. A lone marker stone sits at the bend, half swallowed by mud. Someone has nailed a strip of leather to it. You notice this as you get closer. It is not parchment, actual animal hide. Words have been cut into it with a knife, briskly, with little regard. Marrowden is closed. Below that, no priests, no physicians, no pilgrims. And below that in smaller, careful cuts, no Veneers. Varilyn Asterwald stands beside Asana with his hood drawn low, his coat dark with rain, yet pristine looking. Threads of magic cling to him, faintly visible if the light catches the damp coat at a certain angle. He has a sealed document tucked into his coat. For once, he says nothing. Asana's holy symbol goes cold against her chest, yet not winter cold, but grave cold. It seems your oath has felt the road ahead. Verolyn glances to the leather sign, and then to Asana, his voice careful.
Asana, that was not in the record. Your name, I mean.
The rain falls. The road awaits. Your oath itches. Asana, what do you do? Asana holds a symbol. A brooch with the Veneer family crest. A crow looking towards the sky. Unease creeps into her as she lets go of the cold heirloom. It is unsettling to say the least, being called out by my name as such, Verolyn. I felt this journey a fool's errand until now. What can Asana see in the surrounding area? With no road needed, Asana can see the immediate road clearly, though the rain and fading light make everything dull and grey. The marker stone stands at the fork in the road. One path continues toward Marrowden. The village itself is partially hidden by the sloping in the land. You are able to make out the tops of the ruined rooftop, a few hundred yards ahead perhaps. To the left, the ground drops into a shallow ditch filled with rainwater. Beyond that are fields with nothing but dead stalks, rotting corpses, and scarecrows. To the right is a line of trees, dead and decaying. Their bark is darkened and split. Scraps of cloth hang from branches. It is unknown what these are for. The road itself is marred with the damage of use. Asana can see boot prints, cartwheels, and the line of something that was dragged. These prints are fairly new. The area is eerily silent, except for the rain. There are no birds, no livestock, not even insects. Verolyn looks at the sign again, and focuses on the road ahead.
The record mentioned the chapel, not the village.
He steps closer to the marker.
It was vague on the details. I certainly did not expect a warning. Someone knew a Veneer would come here.
The cold in Asana's holy symbol fades. The road to Marrowden remains open. Perhaps the chapel is in the other direction. Let us continue on and survey the land. At the fork the view is clearer. To the left the road slopes down towards Marrowden. Asana can see the village more clearly from here. It is small, perhaps 20 to 30 buildings in total. Most are ruined in many ways. Quite a few have boarded doors. At the far end of the village, up a small hill, Asana can see the chapel, or at least what remains of it. The tower is broken about halfway up. The wooden roof has caved in on one side. Even from here you can see the graveyard around it, the fence rusted and bent in places. To the right does not lead to anything particular. It narrows into a wet muddy track and disappears into a wood of sickly looking trees. There are cart tracks in that direction, but they are shallow and half filled with rainwater. Verolyn follows Asana's gaze to the chapel, as he reaches into his coat and touches the envelope, but does not retrieve it.
The record described a chapel on a hill beyond Marrowden with a broken bell tower, a sad graveyard to the south. It said that during the plague years there was no priest here, nothing to help the village. It did not mention that the village was dead.
Down the left road towards the village, something moves for a brief second, then it stops. The village is still again. Asana would like to see if she can make out what is moving in the village. The rain makes it difficult. You are far enough away from the village that the rain breaks apart To make out what moved near the village road, you must make a roll. Make a perception check for Asana. Asana rolls a 12. With a 12, Asana narrows her eyes through the rain, but for a moment she can see nothing. But then she catches the movement again. Near the first line of houses, something is swinging slowly from a wooden post beside the road. Is it a shutter? No. Perhaps a sign? Not that either. It is a cage, a hanging cage, the sort used for prisoners. The angle of swinging is strange. There is something inside it. Asana is too far away to make out clearly what is inside it, but it is vaguely human-shaped, slumped and motionless, except when the cage shifts. Verolyn notices where she's looking.
What is it?
He takes half a step forward, but thinks better of it.
Asana?
Verolyn, this place. It is clearly intertwined with both of our pasts. But it is also evil. The plague has taken this village, and those that survive will do whatever. We must be on our guard. Asana pauses for a heartbeat and begins walking down the path to the village. Verolyn looks at Asana as she begins to move. Something has gotten to him, but he quickly dismisses it.
I did not expect you to call it our past.
The road down to Marrowden is worse than what it looked like from above. Mud sticks to the boots. Rainwater runs in thin streams down the gouges. The fields to the side are a sad sight. Rotting fences, very little crops growing, and even those that may have taken root are sickly. It looks abandoned. As you draw near, the smell hits you. Wet wood, old smoke, desiccated bodies. And yet the aroma of something pleasant is also detected. Wax. The first house stands to the left. Its windows are boarded from the inside. The door has been nailed shut from the outside. Something has been carved into the wood. A circle with a line through it. And another line to make a crude eye shape. Verolyn slows behind Asana.
That mark again.
Ahead of you, the hanging cage creaks in the wind. Is it affixed to a wooden post at the edge of what would have been the village square? Inside there is a body. It is human, or close enough. It is thin, slumped awkwardly, and its head hangs forward. One arm hangs through the bars. The hand is a sickly pale. The fingers have been cut away. As you pass this house, you hear something shift behind it. A footstep, maybe? Silence follows. Berlin's hand moves closer to his coat pocket, his focus visible.
Someone is alive in there.
The chapel waits on the hill beyond. Isana notices Verlin reach for his focus, surprised that he wasn't clutching it already, and slowly reaches for a weapon. Can we investigate the door? The door is a large front door to a house. 3 rough planks have been nailed to the door horizontally. They are old, wet and warped, but still make a good barrier. Fingers close around his focus. Behind the door there is another sound, a slow scrape. Then you hear a voice, thin and hoarse, very close to the other side of the door. Don't open it. Don't open anything here. Would Asana be able to discern the owner of the voice, race, gender? From the voice, Asana can only make a rough guess. It sounds human, or close enough that nothing mocks it otherwise. The voice is probably female, likely older than younger. Asana lowers her guard slightly, the voice being seemingly weak. It's good to hear another voice. What has happened here? For a few seconds there is no reply, only breathing. Hunger happened first, then fear, then prayers. A soft sound follows, possibly a laugh. After that, people stopped asking, stopped praying. She takes a long drawn breath. You're not from here, are you? You should leave before the bell rings. Asana shifts around a little, armor clanking a little. What happens when the bell rings? The woman goes quiet, seemingly in fear, her voice smaller. The door opens. The chapel doors. Asana casts her gaze between the chapel and Verlin. She nods at him, acknowledging that blood will be spilled this day. Stay indoors. We will deal with the chapel. Asana grabs her weapon and begins to move towards the square, indicating to Verlin to follow. As Asana walks away, the woman almost shouts, Deal with it. You don't deal with it. Asana and Verlin are already walking away as the woman descends into gibberish. The village square opens around you. It is a muddy open space between houses. A dry wall on one side, and closer to you is the hanging cage. Rain gathers in the pools around the stones. Inside the cage you can see the body hanging. You can see it more clearly now. It was a man once, old and starved thin. His face hidden by his thinning black hair. One hand hangs through the bars, the other to its side. The fingers are gone, cut clearly at the knuckle.
Asana.
Berlin swallows.
There was writing inside of the cage.
Keeping enough distance to not be ambushed in case the body reanimates, Asana would like to try and read the writing. Make a perception check for Asana. Asana rolls a 16. With a 16, Asana keeps back from the cage and studies it. The writing is scratched into the inner iron frame, carved with a bone or broken nail. It takes a moment to separate the words from the rust and the blood. He rang it first. Below, smaller than that, we answered. The dead man in the cage does not move. But now that Asana is watching more closely, she notices something. His tongue is missing. Is there anything of note in the market square? Are all the houses boarded up like the woman's house? Most houses around the square are either boarded or barred. From where Asana stands, she can see the hanging cage next to her, a dry stone wall to the side, 6 houses around the square, 4 of them are boarded shut, 1 is burnt, 1 has no boards, and the door is slightly open. None of the market stores seem to remain, but there are definitely old post holes and broken frame pieces where the stores likely stood. A narrow road climbs towards the chapel from the far side of the square. Several doors have the same carved circle and line eye symbol. The open-doored house has no candle outside, but the boarded houses do. That symbol, Verlin. Have you seen it before? Would Asana know this symbol from the world? Verlin studies the carved mark with a careful distance. The circle and line. I've seen similar warding marks in the plague records, not this exact one. He leans in closer, then stops himself from touching the door. It may be local or old. Make a religion or history check for Asana. Asana rolls a 19 on a religion roll. With a 19, Asana recognises the shape, not the exact carving, but the idea behind it. It is definitely a warding mark of some sort, maybe crude and desperate. The circle itself represents a closed threshold of some sort, and the line itself means something along the lines of refusal, as in do not enter. The extra line in the eye shape troubles her. It changes the meaning slightly. Instead of warding against something entering, it is a ward against something noticing. Verlin watches Asana's face.
You know it?
The rain hits against the boarded door. The carved symbol stares back. As do you. We should keep out of these buildings. Does the open-doored house have a symbol? The open-doored house does not have a symbol. We should investigate the house there, she points to the open door house. Keep an eye out. I do not like what the old hag from the other house said. While I am well acquainted with the undead, they are still not to be underestimated. She begins walking to the door. She stops just before the frame, peering inside. Can she make out anything from this angle, or is the door not open enough? Verlin gives a small, uneasy nod, following just behind her.
Old hag seems uncharitable. Accurate, but uncharitable.
From the doorway, Asana can see inside without needing to move the door. The house is dark. Grey light spills in through a broken side window. Isana can make out the small front room with a table knocked over with 2 chairs, a cold hearth, beaten and dirty floorboards, and many knickknacks. There is another door in the back of the room. If Isana wants to properly scan the room, make a perception check. Isana rolls a 7. With a 7, Isana can only really see the obvious. The room is abandoned, smashed jars, dirty floors, nothing more. Verilyn stands behind her, peering into the room.
I did not see anyone, which I am beginning to understand means very little here.
Isana closes the door. Better safe than sorry, I suppose. She takes another look around the square and sees nothing of value, and begins to move towards the path up the chapel. Verilyn glances at the door and then at Isana.
Better safe than dead.
He follows her to the path, keeping close enough to be safe. From the bottom of the path, Isana can make out the basic shape despite the rain. The building sits on a low hill above the village. It is surrounded by a crooked iron fence and an overgrown graveyard. The bell tower is broken halfway up. The stones have collapsed inward. She cannot see a bell. The chapel doors are shut. They are large, old and damp with the rain. Something is carved into them, but at this distance it is too hard to make out. Several graves look disturbed, less dug, more the ground has sunk or shift below. The windows are dark. No movement can be seen. The path itself is narrow and muddy. There are stone markers along one side. You notice that some may have been grave markers at one point. The path to the chapel is slick with rainwater. By the time the duo reach the iron gate, the village square is half hidden behind the slope. The graveyard is packed tight around the chapel. Some stones are leaning, some have fallen entirely. Many others are wooden and have rotted through. The iron fence is built outwards in places, inwards in others. Isana can see the basic shape of the grounds from here. The doors are about 40 feet ahead. The graveyard wraps around both sides of the building. Make a perception check for Isana to check for danger or anything out of place. Isana rolls a 6. With a 6, the rain, the long grass, and the broken stones are making the graveyard hard to survey. Isana can see the obvious, the damage, the sunken graves, and the splits in the ground. She cannot see anything moving, no rising corpses. Verilyn stops just behind her.
It is too many graves, for the size of the village, I mean.
The iron gate hangs slightly open. It is, and I do not like it. She begins to look around, rain obscuring view slightly. Let's check some of the graves. Some of these headstones might give us a clue to what's happened here. Isana would like to view a few headstones. Without a roll, Isana can see the names of a few families that are buried together, as with some deaths that are clustered around the same year, likely the plague years. For anything more useful, Isana would need to make an investigation check. She can also roll religion for more faith-based check. Isana rolls a nat 20 for a 21 and on a religion check. With a natural 20, Isana surveys the graveyard better than most priests. At first it looks like the village just ran out of space, but this doesn't seem to be the case. The graves closest to the chapel are arranged in a ring around the building. It seems they used the bodies as some sort of boundary. A very desperate one. Many of the older stones bear a peculiar set of phrases. Rest until dawn, dead kept silent, no bell shall wake. But the newer graves are different. Some of them seem to have statuses. Answered, opened, heard him, went below. On back of several headstones facing the chapel, Isana finds the same circle-like eye marking. Then Isana notices one stone, half sunken behind the path. It looks older than the others. Better carved, a priest's perhaps. There is a prayer carved on the stone. May the saint below never hear his own bell. Verilyn reads it over Isana's shoulders. His face drops as he reads.
The saint below, that phrase is in the record.
What does it say about this so-called saint? Verilyn hesitates. He takes the document from his coat, making sure to keep it out of the rain. The seal is dark red, broken now while clinging to the lower of the envelope.
The record does not name him specifically as a saint, not officially canonized. Not like we do that anymore anyway. It is called the Mercy Below. During the plague year, the priest from the chapel supposedly interred the sick beneath the building after the graveyard was filled. He would remain with them, giving last rites, comfort, etc. But he also succumbed to the plague. The village claimed he did not die, not exactly. They said they could still hear confession through the floor. It also said that an Asterwald was brought here and left with him before the priest died.
What is the date of this record? Can we expect the survivor to be, perhaps, still alive? Verilyn checks the record.
It is dated 120 years ago. The massacre was 4 generations past, and this record was supposed to have been written 3 or 4 days after my house was taken from the old estate. The survivor is described as a child of my blood, nothing more. They were brought here, placed in the chapel.
He glances to the grave that mentioned the saint below.
If they were human, I would not expect them to be alive, no. However, the record does not say they were buried, only left in his mercy.
Chilled from the continual mention of the plague and now this unholy saint, she handles her brooch. Once an object of comfort has become a cold reminder of her past. We should not dwell too much longer in this rain. Let us get into the chapel, gather shelter within. Do you have any light spells, or will we be in need of torches? she asks while heading towards the door and opening it, slowly and stealthily. Verlin gives the chapel doors a suspicious look.
No, not properly anyway. I can manage sparks, but not steady light. Anyway, I was under the impression that holy warriors prefer to enter cursed chapels with torches.
The chapel doors are heavy and old enough that even opening them carefully may turn some noise. As Isana is trying to open them slowly and stealthily, she will need to make a stealth check. Isana rolls a 12 with disadvantage. With a 12, Isana manages better than what you would expect her armour would allow. The door resists at first in its swollen frame but then gives. But not silently. One of the hinges lets out a low, tired groan. The chapel opens into darkness. The rain begins to tap against the boards at the threshold. Inside, the air is stale and colder than it should be. Dust, the smell of rot, and old incense permeates the air. The main hall is narrow. Rows of pews sit in uneven lines. Some of them have decayed, some are just split or toppled over. The roof has collapsed on the left, the rain falling in a steady stream onto the floor. The altar stands at the very far end beneath a statue of a kneeling saint. The saint's face has been chiselled away. Behind the altar is a stairway, dark and gloomy. Verlin steps in after Isana, carefully avoiding the patch of rotten floorboards.
I take back what I said about torches. I dislike this much more when I can see its grotesqueness.
On the inside of the chapel doors, carved deep into the wood, is the same circle and line eye mark, but here it is crossed out again, and again, and again. The chapel is still. Are there any safe bits of the chapel? Non-rotten floorboards and dry and sheltered? Yes, the right side of the chapel looks safe as the roof is mostly intact. The centre aisle is passable, though muddy and adorned with pews. The left side is less safe due to the collapsed roof and rotted floorboards. The altar looks stone-built and sound, though not necessarily spiritually safe. Isana surveys the scene, a very sad chapel. Probably the focus of the village before the plague. This area looks safe, as much as it can be. I will light a torch as we are losing light. It would be best for you to hold it. I cannot wield this sword in one hand. At least, not with any finesse. Where do you suggest we start? Verlin takes the torch with a small nod, holding awkwardly at first.
Practical. I'm beginning to see the appeal.
The light changes the chapel, the darkness retreating as the flame flickers in the small breeze.
The record says below, so likely down those stairs, so I would rather not start there.
He looks around the chapel further, narrowing his eyes, trying to take in as much as he can in the dim light.
The door over there first, perhaps. We can then check at the altar. And if anything in this building is going to object to us being here, I would prefer we know before we descend.
Is there a way to perhaps give us more privacy in this area? Can Isana move blocks or pews about to block the duo in, to give a choke point if any enemies arise? You can move pews about to create a barricade between you and the door. That way 2 walls adorn 2 sides. This will leave you with a choke point to hold anything back. To move the pews quietly, Isana will require a check. If she wishes to not bother about quietness, then she can just do it. Isana will need to roll an athletics check. Isana rolls a 5. Isana gets her hand under the end of the first pew and pulls. For a moment it barely moves. The wood is heavier than it looks, swollen with damp and age. Unfortunately, it then shifts all at once. The far end catches on a broken floorboard and there is a sharp crack. The pew drops hard against the floorboards with a sound that ripples through the chapel air. Verlin freezes. The torch flame trembles. For a moment nothing happens. Then from somewhere beneath the floorboards, near the altar, there is a soft sound. A knock. Once. Then again. And again. From below. Isana stops, shocked. Shit. But that was not ideal. Whoever is here knows something is here now. Isana would like to do what she was going to do, just not carefully now. Isana abandons subtlety. The pew scrapes hard against the floor. One end slams into another, one on top of the other. Together they form a rough barricade, allowing view of the chapel and a choke point if needed. Verlin steps into the sheltered area, torch in one hand, focus in the other.
I will not insult the craftsmanship. Perhaps the execution. Maybe not, given the circumstances.
From beneath the floor the knocking stops, but for a moment the silence is worse. Then it comes again, but closer this time. 3 knocks come from under the floorboards near the centre aisle. Knock, knock, knock. Isana will grab the nearest fist-sized stone and throw it towards the opposite side where the marked door is. Isana finds a loose chunk of broken stone near the wall and hurls it across the chapel. It hits the chapel door with a hard crack, then drops and scrambles across the floor. The sound echoes, the knocking stops. From beneath the place where the stone landed, something begins to scratch against the underside of the floorboard. And again. Knock. 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 Isana gathers up 3 or 4 more fist-sized stones. Looking over at Verlin, does the hand gesture to stay quiet, and points to the marked door while throwing the rocks. Roll for stealth for Isana with disadvantage, and a normal stealth check for Verlin. Isana rolls a 16 with disadvantage. Verlin, however, rolls a 4. Isana moves with confidence, her armour surprisingly silent. The first stone hits the door again, and the second skips into the left side of the chapel, slopping on the wet floorboards. The third hits a pew on the other side of the chapel. Each sound pulls for the scratching further and further away. Isana reaches the door without drawing attention. Verilyn almost does. His boot catches the edge of a split board. A small sharp sound of a heel against wood through the silence of the chapel. The knocking stops. Verilyn freezes halfway across the open aisle, eyes wide. Beneath him a knock. He does not speak, but looks at Asana. The torchlight trembles across his face. With the last stone, Asana throws it towards the stairs in hopes it will travel down them. Asana throws the last stone hard towards the altar. It hits the stone floor, skips once, and descends into the dark stairwell. It tumbles down several steps before vanishing into the inky blackness. The sound of the Verilyn's feet goes still. For one agonizing second, nothing happens. Then the knocking begins to move from underfoot towards the altar. Verilyn freezes until it is at least a few feet away. Then, very slowly, he takes careful steps towards Asana. Wiping sweat from her brow, she gives a small smile, partially glad he's safe, but mostly happy that her plan worked. Be on your guard here. This was warded. It is not now. There could be anything in here. She grabs a hold of the handle and opens the door. The handle is cold. It almost feels like a holy symbol. The door opens inwards with a soft scrape against the stone floor. Beyond is a small chamber, perhaps a vestry. The room where vestments, oils, sacred things, and most importantly, records were kept. At least it would have been before the chapel rotted around it. The room is cramped, stone-walled and dry. Mostly. Shelves line the left side, bowing under the weight of ruined books and cracked jars. On the right is a table covered in old cloth. The room has been disturbed recently. Someone has searched this place before. Books have been pulled down and stacked. Cupboards opened, seals broken. A prayer chest in the corner has been forced open and the lock is broken. On the far wall, the warding mark appears again, the circle, the line, the eye. This one has not been crossed out, but rather it has been cut open. A deep vertical slash runs through the centre of the eye, like a wound.
Someone wanted the ward broken.
The noise has gone quiet. For now. Would Asana or Verilyn know the difference between cutting the symbol and it being crossed out? Broadly, yes. Crossing out the ward means to try and cancel the protection it may give. Cutting it open requires thought, it's deliberate. It is symbolically opening the threshold it was meant to keep closed. Asana would like to search the room for anything of note. Make an investigation check for Asana. Asana rolls a 9. With a 9, Asana finds signs of disturbance, but no reason for it. By the looks of the stacked books and parchments, it was carefully searched, just not very gently. Searching the room, she finds several items of note. Rune and damp prayer books, several snapped wax seals, and a small iron keyring with no keys left. One thing does stand out more, however. Under some parchments and an old cloth, she finds scratches in the wood. Short lines grouped together. A tally. There are 11 of these scratches, and one final mark, much deeper than the rest. These could be bodies, or perhaps slain opponents? No point guessing what this could mean, after all. She looks at Verilyn, hoping that he has garnered anything from the room, unlike her. Verilyn crouches beside the table. He lowers the torch to illuminate it.
No, let's not guess too quickly.
He studies the markers for a moment and around the room.
I don't think this room was ransacked. They came in to sort and look for something specific.
His eyes settle on the marks again.
11 days, maybe? 11 attempts, along with the last final successful attempt. The last one does seem more important, perhaps even angry. I should examine what is left on the table properly. I would prefer if you kept watch too.
She nods, brandishing her sword, and guards the scholar. Verilyn rolls a 12 in investigation. Verilyn leans over the table, careful not to drape the torch over the old cloth. For once, he does not speak while thinking. He studies the scratches from several angles. He uses his sleeve to wipe the dust from the wood. The crackling magic disintegrates the dust as it settles on his coat.
These were not made by a knife. They look too narrow and blunt. A key, perhaps. A small iron tool.
He looks towards the empty keyring.
The first marks were measured and deliberate. It was definitely counting something. The final one was harder, deeper. It was also fairly recent. The dust is lesser around the bigger gash than the others.
From beyond the door, the floorboards give a quiet creak. Verilyn stops speaking, Asana seeing him look past her. The torch flame leans slightly towards the doorway. Did we close the door? I felt a small change in the air just now. We should definitely be on guard. She shifts towards the door, heightened senses, ready to attack if anything noticed. Verilyn's eyes flick towards the door.
No, we did not close the chapel doors.
He lowers his torch slightly, making the lights less visible from the main hall. Asana moves towards the doorway, greatsword ready. She tries to listen past the rain and the drips. Make a perception check. She rolls a 15. With a 15, Asana is on high alert. The final chapel doors are still open, raining and wind blowing in through them, causing a change in the musty air. That is not all. In the main chapel, she can hear a slow dragging scrape along the floorboards. Not too far away, probably in the centre aisle. It seems to be looking for something. The scratching pauses whenever the torch crackles or Verilyn shifts his weight. Then she hears something else. A faint tap. A bigger crack. Something is testing the pew's barricade from below. Verilyn sees Asana's posture change and goes still. Whatever is beneath the floor is now between you and the front doors. This is the only other door in the chapel besides the stairway down. No other obvious doors are visible from your should-explode part of the chapel. In her fighting stance, she begins moving back into the main chapel area. They continue towards the altar. Isana steps out first, blade ready. Verlin follows close, torch held low, focus in palm. The main chapel feels larger somehow, pews sit in broken rows on either side. The rain blows through the main doors. As Isana crosses the centre aisle, the floorboards give a little beneath her boots. Not enough to break, though. The board groans, the dragging sound stops. Verlin freezes. Then Isana feels it. The board beneath her lifts half an inch, seemingly testing her weight. It drops.
Keep moving.
The duo continue towards the altar. After a few more steps, the floorboards turn into old stone. The scratching follows you as far as it can. It stops at the edge of the stone. Knock, knock, knock. The altar stands before you. It is a heavy grey stone cracked down one side. Old candles sit in their blackened holders. The surface is scratched and stained. Behind it is the faceless saint, their hands clasped, their head bowed, their face chiselled away. Behind that is a stairway that descends into the darkness below. The light falls across the first two steps. They are wet, not with rain. The duo would like to investigate the altar and desecrated statue. They both roll a 3 for investigation. With a 3, they only see the obvious. The altar is stone with a large crack on one side. Years of soot have stained the surface alongside the dust. There are scratches along the surface, but with bad lighting and rainwater they all blur into meaningless damage. The faceless statue is worse up close. The face was not removed cleanly. Whoever did this just hacked away at it. The nose, the mouth, and the eyes all gone. The hands do remain, and they are folded in prayer. Verlin lifts the torch.
I cannot tell if this was done in anger, fear, or desperation. There may be something else here, but I am just not seeing it.
The wet steps beside the altar descend into darkness. From below, very faintly, something drips. Isana sighs. This is not going very well, Verlin. Let's check the stairs. Isana moves towards the stairwell, the torchlight catching on the wet stone. At first glance, the liquid is dark, almost black. It coats the first few steps in thin, uneven streaks. It gathers more heavily along the edges. It is too thick to be rainwater. It does not run like water either. It seems to cling to the surfaces. Isana can see it is definitely not blood. Isana can do an investigation check to inspect closer, or medicine check to see if it was from a body. Isana rolls a 19 for investigation. With a 19, Isana can see what it is. The smell, the glossiness of the liquid. It is a mixture of old oils, grey filth, and the secretions of bodies after death. It is thick, dark, and faintly sweet. The interesting point is that the liquid is smeared upwards. Something came from below, reaching the top of the stairs and went back down again. Isana can also see drag marks along the outer edges of the steps and wall. Long smears where fingernails have scraped against the stone. Verlin leans in enough to see down the stairway. About 12 steps down, the torchlight stops. From there, it is only black. We should take care while walking down these steps. This liquid is disgusting, and we still not know what is down there. They begin to carefully traverse the steps. Verlin nods.
I was not planning on torching it, not breathing too deeply near it if I could avoid it either.
Isana descends first, slowly. The stairs are narrow and made of stone, uneven through age. As they descend, the air changes. The smell of the chapel fades, and the crypt smell takes its place. Stench of dead flowers, old oil, and open graves. After the 12 steps, the top of the stairs are now in darkness. Verlin's torch illuminates behind Isana, casting a long shadow down the stairwell. The stairs end not too long after. It emerges into a low stone chamber. It is high enough so that Isana does not need to duck. There are burial niches on both walls, stacked some 3 high. Some are sealed, some are opened. A few have even broken from the inside. At the end of the chamber is an archway that leads deeper. Carved into the stone in the arch are the words, "Let mercy lie still." Beneath the words, the same warding eye is carved. This one is fully intact. Verlin stops at the final step. He stares at the symbol. He is just about to comment on the phrase, then they hear it. Something beyond the archway. You hear a bell ring. Through the flickering of the torchlight, Isana stares at Verlin, an almost imperceptible tinge of fear in her eyes. She begins to concentrate. Her eyes glow a deep silver as her senses heighten through her oath. Isana uses her divine sense feature. Isana spends 1 use of her divine sense. For a heartbeat, the world loses its colour. The sound of the rain becomes distant. The glow of silver in her eyes catches the stone. She feels it. This entire chamber has been desecrated, layer upon layer of unholy magics. The niches around her are strange. Some give off nothing. Some give off traces of age-old death. But beyond the archway, within the reaches of her senses, there is something definite. Undead. Beyond that, deeper than the spell can reach, Isana feels something. A pressure, perhaps. Not a creature that she can locate. It is far too far for that. But lingering traces. She looks towards the ward. It glows a brilliant white. She can see it now, the faint glow of a barrier below the arch. The bell rings again, deep and low. As Asana's eyes glow, she points in the direction of the undead. Asana, as if transfixed by the spell, begins moving, quiet, slow yet with purpose towards this location. Verilyn knows with the silver in Asana's eyes, her tightened grip around her greatsword, she has purpose. Her oath has recognized an enemy and is pulling her towards her duty. Her brooch becomes cold again, demanding her duty.
Asana, I know how it makes you feel. That ward is still whole. If we cross it, we may be stepping past the only protection we have.
At the very least, it would allow searching for any clues to your record. Let us eradicate this abomination, and I shall be one step closer to being free. Asana's grip tightens. She takes a deep breath in and exhales, the glow in her eyes faintly pulsating. She steps over the threshold of the mark. As Asana steps between the carved eye, her brooch almost painful now, Verilyn stops just before the threshold and looks towards the ward. He rereads the words, "Let mercy lie still."
Free. Yes, of course.
He steps through the arch. The walls here are older and of rougher stone, more like a tomb. More niches line the sides. Some are marked with tally lines, prayers and warnings. The black fluid thickens along the floor. The passage opens into a round chamber. In the centre is a dry well, no rope or bucket, just a void of darkness in the floor. Beside it, kneeling with its back to you, is a figure in what would have been priestly robes, now decaying around the body. The figure is in prayer, its shoulder thin and hunched over, head bowed. The kneeling figure lifts its head slightly, a voice crawls from it, cracked and dry. "Confession." Verilyn raises his torch. The undead presence sensed is here. The priest whispers again, "Confession." Asana drops her guard slightly, the words ringing in her ear. She looks at Verilyn, almost confusion in her eyes. "Confession? You have desecrated this shrine with your unholy taint." She moves into her fighting stance, greatsword angled towards her left, the stance her master taught. The priest's head turns unnaturally, but it does not rise. Asana can see the face now, well, what's left of it. The skin has sunk tight over the skull. The lips are gone. Its eyes are sealed shut with a black thread. A hand unfolds from prayer and points at Asana. "Blood carries guilt." The hand shifts to Verilyn. "Blood carries hunger." Verilyn's expression changes at that. The priest rises slowly to its feet, robes hanging heavily over the weak frame. Liquid leaks from the hem and pools around the bare feet. The bell rings again. It's coming from the well. The undead priest whispers, "Speak, or be opened." Verilyn tightens his grip on his focus.
Asana, I believe this is a threat.
The priest's shoulder twitches, and the air grows colder. Roll initiative for Asana and Verilyn. Verilyn rolls an 18, Asana rolls a 4. The chamber is cramped and cold. The undead priest stands beside the well, around 20 feet ahead of Asana. Verilyn is behind her. The undead waits, with its stitched eyes turned towards them. "Confession." Verilyn snaps his focus towards the figure. 3 pale dots of force tear from the end of it, lighting up the small crypt. They strike the priest one after the other. One cracks into its shoulder, the second punches the ribs, and the third hits its skull, snapping the head sideways. For a moment it simply stands there. Then it slowly turns its head back into the place with a crack. "Pain. Accepted." Verilyn casts magic missile, and the priest takes 10 force damage. Before moving to the target, she uses her bonus action to cast Hunter's Mark on the priest. Having marked her quarry, she moves towards the priest. Careful not to touch the liquid, she pulls her sword out for a swing, and rolls an 18. She marks the target. The oath answers. The silver in her eyes sharpen upon the figure. Its aura stands out in the darkness. She moves in carefully, avoiding the black fluid, and an 18 hits. Asana's greatsword bites deep, the blade carving through the rotted robes right into flesh and something hard underneath. The mark flares for a moment, illuminating in silver around the wound. The priest takes 13 slashing and a further 2 from the mark. The force from the blow causes the priest to stagger a step sideways, its stitched eyes turned toward Asana. "Wrath." One dead hand snaps upwards and grabs the air in front of Asana, not touching her but almost reaching for her soul. It speaks one word. "Confess." Make a wisdom saving throw for Asana. Asana rolls a 17. Asana holds steady. The words hit her like a hand around her neck. For a moment she feels the debt in her blood boil. 4 generations of accusations and punishment. The feeling does not take her though. The priest's hand trembles in the air, unable to latch on to weakness. The eyes turn slightly, as if confused. "Refusal." The bell below vibrates, but does not fully ring. Asana succeeds the save. Verilyn does not hesitate this time. His focus snapping again, 3 more darts of force slam into the undead. One strikes its chest, one tears straight through the shoulder, and the last smacks the sides of the head. The priest takes 11 force damage. For a moment it looks like the body would fall apart, It almost does. The priest staggers against the rim of the dry wall, one hand leaning on the stone edge. Black fluid leaks from its wounds. The stitched eyes turn towards Varilyn. Fear. It then tilts its head back to Asana. Wrath. Vengeance, she mutters, once again slashing. Asana rolled a 19 and 19 hits. Asana's blade glows a brilliant silver as she slashes towards the priest. It hits it full across the body. For a moment the crypt is filled with a silver fire. The greatsword tears through the priest's chest. The radiant force follows. The light bursts through the rose, the flesh, and even the stitched eyes. The body collapses backwards towards the edge of the wall and falls to the ground. Old bones, dust and black fluid left in a heap on the ground. She does 12 slashing, 15 radiant, and 3 mark damage. The bell gives out one final note. The pressure in Asana's brooch eases, and the silver glow in her eyes fades. The chamber is darker for it. Varilyn stands before her, confident, focus still raised. I think that was not the saint. I think that was the man trying to keep it all quiet. Asana's glowing eyes begins to dissipate as the marked undead has been slain. The spell's purpose fulfilled. It was also not the creature scratching and knocking. We should be wary of that. Asana would like to search the dead priest. Varilyn lowers his focus. No, whatever was beneath the chapel moved like an animal. Make an investigation check to search the priest. Asana rolls a 9. With a 9, Asana does not find much of the body before it becomes unpleasant to handle. The remains are old and brittle, its robes come apart under her gauntlets. The body, now lit by the torch, is merely blackened bones and sinew. Asana finds no coins, no holy books, nor any weapon. She does, however, find 2 things of note. Around the priest's neck is a rusted chain with a small iron key from it. The key is rusty with age, but still sturdy. The bow is shaped like a warded eye. Secondly, sewn into the inside of the robe is a strip of cloth. Most of what was written has rotted away, but one line is legible. He asked us to open the well. Asana takes the chain with the key. A grave mistake. Whether that was what doomed the village or just the chapel, we should investigate. Asana takes the chain and key from the dead priest. The round chamber is fairly small, no more than 30 feet across. From your position you can see the well, the niches, the way back, and the narrow stone door. Asana would like to check each of the open niches. Make an investigation check for Asana. Asana rolled a 3. Asana can check all the niches, but the smells and flickering light works against her. The fluid on the ground is an ever-present issue, and her attention keeps getting drawn to it. Each niche looks the same as the previous. Broken stones, scraps of cloth, old bones. One feature does stand out to her, however. Each of the broken open niches face toward the well. Anything that clawed out of them moved towards the well. Well, that was less than fruitful. Perhaps the key here goes to that stone door over there. Please cover me while I unlock and open it. Varilyn nods. I will cover you, which is a phrase I dislike more now that I know what it feels like. The key fits perfectly. Asana turns the key and the lock gives. A small line of stale air leaks from the seam in the door as it opens. The door opens slowly yet quietly. Beyond it is a small room, an archive. Small stone shelves line the walls. Most are empty. Some hold rotted cloth and tablets. At the end of the room stands a lectern. On it rests a closed book, bound in a dark cracked leather. Above the lectern, carved in the wall, are the words, "Those who died without answer shall be kept until mercy speaks." Varilyn does not enter. He stands upon the threshold, his face still.
This is not in the record.
Many things have not been in this record, Varilyn. A chapel should have its secrets. However, none should be as unholy as what we have seen so far. Wait, I have an idea.
Asana lights a second torch and throws it into the well. It falls and falls, for longer than it should. As the light descends, the sides are illuminated. The stone walls are not smooth, they are scratched all the way down, marked by fingernails and something sharper. The torch strikes metal. A hollow sound rolls up from below. The torch bounces once, then lands on a ledge about 30 feet down, still burning. In the light you can see a bell, huge and dark. Its surface is carved with prayers and warding marks, so many they overlap. The clapper is missing, and there is no rope. Then, from the bell, you hear a scraping. Can the duo see what is scraping against the bell? No, the bell's belly blocks most of the view.
I shall need to stock up once we find a more hospitable village.
He lights another torch and throws it down the well on the opposite side. Varilyn looks at the fresh torch in Asana's hand, then at the well.
Remind me to never complain about overpacking.
Asana drops the second torch into the shaft. It strikes the inner wall and begins to tumble and lands on the opposite side of the bell. The bottom of the well is clearer now. The bell itself is enormous, far too big to be carried down easily. It looks like it was cast from bronze, but has been blackened from dirt and whatever unholy machinations over the years. Its wards now clearly visible. They cover the bell, outside, even wrapping inside. Then you see what is moving. A body is trapped beneath the bell, a human torso, thin and white. Its lower half is pinned under the bell. One arm is missing, the other is too long, and its fingers are worn down to the bone. Faintly you hear,
Open. Open.
scrape, scrape, scrape.
Open? Open what? What could he mean?
Verilyn looks at the thing below and to Asana, then to the archive room.
Open.
I do not think it means the well.
Open the names.
The duo look down at the bell and look at each other, and then finally, after seemingly minutes, look towards the newly open archives.
I will leave you in charge of this, scholar.
Asana readies her stance, guarding the wizard. Verilyn stares at Asana. For a moment the fear is obvious. He shakes it off.
Yes, very well, yes.
He steps into the archive room, torch in one hand. He pauses at the door frame and looks back at the well.
Names.
I heard you.
He enters the archives, approaching the lectern. The book awaits. Dark leather, a cracked spine, featureless except for one single iron clasp. The clasp is shaped like a warding eye, intact. Verilyn leans in closer, not touching it.
It is not a prayer book. I think this is a ledger, and I rather think it was locked for a reason.
Make an investigation check for Verilyn as he examines the book and clasp before opening it. Verilyn rolls a 17. With a 17, Verilyn studies the ledger carefully before touching the clasp. He does not rush.
The clasp isn't just a lock, it seems. I think it's also a seal, just like an eye warding. If it's a ledger, it'll have names, so it is also sealing in the names, preventing them to answer as the priest act. One more thing. The book has been opened recently. The dust is broken.
He makes a quick glance over to Asana.
If we are to do this, be ready.
Let's go.
Verilyn nods as he opens the clasp. The eye in eye gives a small click and the book opens by itself. From the well chamber, the thing beneath goes still. Verilyn's eyes move across the first page, then the second, then the third.
This is definitely a ledger. There are names, villagers, priests, families, even children. Some of them are marked with the plague, some of them are marked confessed, some are marked as answered.
The pages are written with different handwriting. Throughout the years, many names were entered. The page turns on their own again, fast this time. The turning stops near the back at a newer page, much newer. There is only one name written there. Verilyn Asterwald. Verilyn moves the torch down for a closer look. He does not breathe. He does not believe what he is seeing. From the well, the trapped thing replies.
Answered.
Beneath his name, wet black letters begin to form one by one as another name is written into the book. Asana Veneer. Verilyn's eyes widen. He slowly turns his head towards Asana.
Asana, the book. It has our names.
Asana is taken aback, her heart racing in her chest.
Burn it. This book is the answer. It is filth, an abomination, an unholy abomination. Let us exorcise it.
Verilyn flinches at the tone of her voice. For a moment it looks like he would argue back.
That may only be the only...
Asana's name is fully written in the book. The bell gives off a low hum. He shoves the torch down onto the open page and the book catches immediately. The flame races across the old parchment in the bright line, the dried ink boiling as the heat takes hold. The archive begins to fill with a smell of scorched leather and soon, black smoke. Then the book screams. From below the thing shouts.
No, 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 no.
The bell moves maybe an inch as it crashes down to the floor. A deep note resonates throughout the crypt. The archive stones tremble, dust falls from the shelves. In the round chamber, knocking is heard from the niches. As the book burns, pages are curling. Verilyn can see another parchment, different from the rest. Inside of the book, it is not burning.
Asana, there is something here, something different.
Make a dexterity check for Verilyn to remove this parchment. Verilyn rolls a 9. With a 9, Verilyn barely gets the parchment free. He hooks it with the end of his focus, but catches the heat too close. Verilyn takes 2 fire damage. Behind Asana, the knocking from the niches becomes violent. The stone shifts and then cracks. Something inside the niches wants to get out. Verilyn hisses at the pain. He shakes his arm, trying to ignore it. He holds the parchment up, the writing in black ink recent and bright. It is a copy of the letter sent to Verilyn a few weeks ago. However, there are differences. Some words are crossed out. There is a signature written out more than once. It looks like practice. On the other side of the parchment is the record. Not in its entirety, just notes. Verilyn's eyes widen as the implication of this letter becomes apparent. The letter was a ruse. The record was bait.
That's not possible.
One of the sealed niches in the chamber breaks open and the stone hits the floor with a resonating crash. Asana runs towards Verilyn. He hands her the parchment and reads it quickly as the flames begin to catch other objects. Her face drops.
The trap.
She shouts, grabs Verilyn's arms and begins to run out of the burning archives. Asana would like to get to the entrance of the well room, assuming nothing is stopping them. Asana moves to the exit, Verilyn in tow. The parchment in his coat. The duo reach the door and move into the chamber. Another niche cracks, and then another, and then another. The thing with the bell thrashes. Rhythmic hums echo throughout the chamber. Verlin staggers beside Asana, breathing hard.
That thing under the bell, it wanted the names opened. I still don't understand, but I do not think it wanted us dead.
The first corpse exits its niche with a wet slop, then begins to crawl towards the well.
No, this whole errand has been mistake after mistake. I have been brash. Emotion has taken over. We should at least eradicate these vile creatures before they reach the hole. Perhaps then we may help the trapped torso below.
The corpse is crawling, dragging itself by its arms towards the well. Asana runs up towards the creature. Her eyes flicker silver as she moves her divine mark from the dead priest to the crawling creature. Asana rolls a 23 to hit. Asana brings the greatsword down through the corpse. The blade splits the cloth through the flesh and through bone. The wound grows silver for a moment as the mark also strikes. The creature takes 9 slashing and 5 mark damage. The creature collapses flat against the stone. For a second it twitches and then goes still. A skeletal hand stretched towards the well. Verlin looks towards the corpse, then to the other niches.
One down.
2 more corpses fall flat against the floor and begin crawling to the well. Verlin fires a magic missile towards the furthest corpse. Verlin raises his focus towards the corpse. 3 dots of force light up the chamber as they zip towards the corpse. They hit it in its back, then its shoulder, then skull. The creature takes 13 force damage. The corpse jerks forward, bone scraping against the stone, then collapses before the well. Verlin exhales sharply.
That was the last spell of that kind. Let's hope this is the only dead left.
Asana moves over to the corpse and rolls a 17 to hit. Her eyes again flicker silver. The mark now moved. Her greatsword splits the creature from shoulder to spine, the wound glowing silver as the mark hits also. The creature takes 12 slashing and 2 marked. The corpse oozes black filth as it becomes lifeless. The knocking stops. The only sound is the crackling of the fire from the burning archive. Verlin stands in the doorway of the archive, breathing heavily. He looks at the corpses, then to Asana. The scraping below begins again, as a faint voice can be heard once again.
Not them. Open me.
A little breathless from having to swing so low, Asana looks at Verlin, a little confused.
Open him? Like, literally?
Verlin stares down the well, the torchlight below lighting the fallen bell and the pale torso pinned under it.
I sincerely hope not. I think this thing was trapped under the bell deliberately. As punishment or containment, it's hard to say. If it means literally, we will need to move the bell. If ritually, then maybe its name is sealed somewhere. If this place was bait, then we should consider the possibility that it's just telling us what we want to hear.
There are runes and wars in this place for a reason, Verlin. The bell is covered in them. If it is holding the creature down, I do not believe we should help, unless we know exactly what we are dealing with.
After a brief pause, Asana moves to the hole, peers down and says,
Creature, are you an Asterwald? What is your name?
Asana's voice echoes down the well. The scraping continues.
No, not Asterwald.
Verlin eases up slightly and moves nearer. The thing drags its head sideways, attempting to look up.
Merrin rang first. Heard him. Under stone. He said mercy.
The bell shifts and groans. The wards twist and reshape over the surface. It whispers again.
Not saint. Hunger.
Asana sees the frail, withered human not in disgust but with pity.
I think we should ease this creature's suffering. Whether that will be to save him from the bell, or ease their torment. How would we go about removing the bell, or even removing the creature?
Verlin looks confused at Asana.
Removing the bell? With what we have? Certainly not. It must weigh hundreds of pounds, perhaps more. If it were placed there as a ward, moving it would be the worst thing we could do.
Merrin's fingers scrape once again.
No. Lift bell. Holds hunger. I, guardian.
Verlin looks at Asana. He shakes his head.
Sounds like the bell is holding the hunger, whatever that is, not him.
Merrin continues.
Was given false name. Imprisoned.
Verlin looks for a moment. He moves his hands around trying to visualize the options.
The way I see it is we have 3 options. The first, we can actually free him. Possibly too dangerous. Definitely foolish. Second, we destroy him. This may end his suffering, but it may also release the hunger. We certainly not get any more answers from him. Lastly, we find his real name? It seems we already know his real name. Perhaps it was just a title.
These aren't good options no matter what we do. The first 2 especially. I agree, I don't think we'd be able to move the bell. Not like we should anyway. Plus, we cannot even get down there. Well, I cannot anyway. Let's find his name then. What do you suggest?
Verlin gives Asana a side look. For a moment he might have suggested rope. He does not.
The ledger was burned, but not everything in the room was caught. There may be other tablets, parchments in there. My suggestion though would be to search the archive.
The duo search the archives. Isana rolls a 13 and Verilyn rolls a 17, both in investigation. The archive is hot, not fully aflame, but is smoky and dangerous. The ledger has been burnt to ashes, the lectern seems fine, and the stone shelves still remain. Isana searches the lower shelves, careful not to disturb the ruined books, moving aside bundles of rotting cloth and warped wooden tablets. With a 13, she finds several parchments with more names. With a 17, Verilyn is able to figure out the pattern. Some are marked with dead, some are marked with buried, some, however, are marked with answered. Below these, something catches his eye, the name Merrin Vale, listed with his full title, Bellhand.
I think we need to speak his full name and title. Only then will he be free.
Isana nods, moves out back to the circular room.
I feel this is more your expertise. Let us free this creature. However, this will clearly anger something.
Verilyn follows her out of the archive, Merrin's title flowing around and around in his head. The corpse of Slain still lying on the floor, all three now oozing grave fluids. He walks up to the well, almost shaking. He lets out a small cough and inhales.
Yes, I agree. Whatever caused this punishment will not enjoy seeing it undone. Merrin Vale, Bellhand of Marrowden.
He pauses, nothing happens. Verilyn looks to Isana. She shrugs.
Merrin Vale, Bellhand of Marrowden. You are not the guardian of the hunger. You are the hand that answered.
The bell shakes. The wards flare up a dull grey on the surface. Black oozing fluid rises from the well and engulfs Merrin. The ground begins to shake. The stone above begins to crack.
Run!
The duo begin to retrace their steps, not running, but a careful brisk jog, attempting to avoid the liquid on the ground as they enter the corridor back into the stairs and up. The duo moves back into the passage, the warding arch beginning to snap. Behind them, from the well, the ooze continues to rise. As they pass beneath the arch, the words begin to turn to dust. The black fluid around the stairs is worse somehow. It is no longer flowing downhill, but flowing towards them. Thin lines of it attempt to stick to them. Make a dexterity saving throw for both Isana and Verilyn. Isana rolls a 16, Verilyn an 11. Isana keeps her footing, her boots sliding on the slick stone, but corrects herself and keeps moving. Verilyn is not so fortunate. His boots land on one of the crawling lines of fluid. It grips to him, not sticky, more like hands grasping. He almost falls forward, almost dropping the torch, his other hand slamming against the floor. The fluid climbs half an inch above his boot.
Isana, it has me!
He tries to pull free. The fluid stretches with him. Behind them, something is coming up from the well chamber. Isana would like to cut through the liquid between Verilyn's foot and the ground, if that's possible. Make a greatsword attack roll. Isana rolls a 7. Isana swings low, attempting to cut the fluid, but the sword strikes stone. Sparks light up the thick goop. The blade cuts through the mass, but not enough. It splits in half for a second, but pulls itself back together. Verilyn clenches as the greatsword patches inches from his leg.
Careful. Careful is good.
In the passageway now, the sound deepens. Whatever is coming is closer, yet cannot be seen.
I can get free. I just need to use a spell.
He reorientates his focus. Isana nods. She runs to the foot of the stairs. Verilyn will cast Misty Step to get beside Isana near the stairs. Isana continues up the stairs. Behind her, Verilyn swooshes his focus and disappears. The clasped fluid falls to the ground. Verilyn appears beside Isana next to the stairs.
A well-spent spell.
He wipes his brow. Behind the duo, something pulls itself into view. Scraping, sloshing can be heard as the mass is lit up by the torch. A mass of hands dragging a blob of black ooze. The stairs are also slick with fluid. To get up the stairs, both Isana and Verilyn will need to make dexterity saving throws. Isana rolls a 15, Verilyn rolls a 10. Isana drives herself up the stairs, slipping once but gathering herself as she reaches the top. Verilyn follows behind her, but his injured foot slides out under him. He hits the stone steps hard. The torch smashes against the floor. Sparks scatter around the fluid. Verilyn takes 3 bludgeoning damage. Verilyn is not badly hurt, but is on one knee on the stairs. The thing reaches the bottom of the stairwell, now fully illuminated. Countless hands clutch against the wall. Adult hands, child hands, skeletal hands. It begins to climb the stairs.
Go!
Verilyn shouts, almost breathless.
Wait, no, don't. Help me up.
Isana turns back for a moment. Verilyn sees the anger in her face, then subsides. She gets him under his arm and hauls him upright, the weight off his foot allowing him to climb. The creature grips the step where Verilyn just fell. Make an athletics check for Isana to haul Verilyn up the stairs. Isana rolls a 6. Isana gets Verilyn under her shoulder and moves forward, but the stairs are too slick. His weight causes her to slip on a smear on the next step. They lurch towards the wall instead of upwards. From below, a hand snaps around Verilyn's ankle, then 2 more.
Isana, it has me again.
The mass has a firm grip on Verilyn's ankle. Halfway up the stairs, the top is in sight. Asana will move her hunter's mark to whatever this is and attempt to attack with the sword. For a moment, the mass glows silver, the outline highlighting its hands, its cloth, even various other bones entangled in the mass. Asana will have to brace against the slippery step. Make an attack roll with disadvantage. Asana rolls a 13. Asana braces against the wall. She twists her weight as she brings the greatsword down on the gripping hands, a sword glowing a radiant silver as it slices through the hands. The fluid recoils as the blade lands. The wound glows silver as the mark burns. The creature takes 8 radiant, 5 slashing, and 3 mark damage. The thing convulses as it releases Verilyn. The duo notice several mouths open throughout the mass. No sound escapes.
Move, now!
Verilyn says as he forces Asana up the remaining stairs. Verilyn limping as he uses the wall for further leverage. The mass of hands pulls itself back together and begins to climb again. Asana notices a silver glow on the last steps. Many warding eyes are etched into the steps. The duo reach the top, almost throwing themselves over the threshold. The thing rises behind them, but as it reaches the top of the stairs, the wards flash, lighting up the mass. It hits an invisible boundary. The chapel floor rumbles. The black fluid splashes up the stairwell. It presses against the boundary, hands clawing at nothing. The main chapel doors are still open, grey light spilling in, and it is still raining. The altar, pews and makeshift barricade are between the duo and the exit.
We should leave.
Yes, we should. However, I fear we will be back. Whatever that is, it is a slight against the living. We will be back.
She stares at the liquid, hands against the invisible barrier. She takes Verilyn under her shoulder once again to keep the weight off his injured foot, and they exit the chapel. Verilyn does not argue. He gets one arm over Asana's shoulder and they begin moving towards the exit. They make it to the centre aisle, passing the pews. The barricade moves past them as the thing in the stairwell strikes the ward again. They reach the main doors and exit into the cool rain air, looking back at the mass as it throws itself at the ward again.
Asana, this whole journey was bait. Someone wanted us to come here.
I believe this is just the beginning, Verilyn. We shouldn't go back through the village. Let's skirt around the boundary, find a secluded area of the woodland, and rest for the night.
Asana nods as she looks around the grounds and towards the village.
Yes, the chapel is awake now. Possibly the village. I would rather not walk through the middle.
From the hilltop they can see Marrowden below through the rain. To skirt around the edge, a survival check will need to be made. Verilyn may give advantage. He is limping and shaken. A low roll may slow the escape. Asana rolls a 10. Asana leads them down the graveyard without going down the path. Unfortunately, not gracefully. The rain has turned the slope into a sheet of mud. Verilyn's bad foot makes it worse. He slips twice. They are able to keep clear of the village. They stay behind the outer boundary, following an old fence line. Marrowden to the left, thorns to the right. Eventually, the chapel hill and the village fall beyond the trees. The woodland is soaking and cold, but it lives. They find a shallow hollow near a leaning oak. It is screened by some brambles and dead trees. While not exactly comfortable, it is dry and mostly safe. Asana starts the fire. Verilyn lowers himself to a stump. He is still shaken from the fight.
I thought I had found proof. Something that would explain everything.
Asana sighs. Her apathy and anger now turn to reason.
I believe someone is using this family feud against us. Someone with animosity between us both, Verilyn. I think discovering the truth of this debt will help us both. Yes, I have ulterior motives, but whatever is happening is now directly involving both of us. We should find out what that is.
She pauses for just longer than what Verilyn would expect.
Together.
Verilyn looks up to her, a small smile on his face. Rain drips from the canopy. She studies her face, latching onto a final word. Together.
I spent my life being told your name is a wound, Asana. A vicious word in our house. Veneer. And tonight, someone knew that. Someone knew which scar to press. I wanted the truth. I thought it would give me a weapon. But you are right. Whatever this is, it involves us both. Not because of the oath, but because we chose it. We chose this, Asana.
The wind changes. Rain drips onto his coat. She nods. She eases.
We should rest.
The long rest completes in the hollow. Asana and Verilyn gain the benefits of a long rest. This session gives 1,900 experience, leveling them to level 4, and a total of 2,800 experience. Hello everyone. So I've just finished editing this episode, and that took a hell of a long time to edit. I'm not gonna lie, all of those animation, well, I wouldn't say animations, it was just colour changing and stuff like that, took so long. And editing this down, and even like voice acting it, took so long. Eventually it got to the point where I was doing the voice acting alongside of the DMing, which is a bad idea. I'm going to be honest with you, because I find it very difficult to keep a, Keep a voice going It's a problem everywhere. Well, I mean everywhere that is relevant, like D&D and stuff like that, and also videos. Because I try and do like voices and stuff. I was trying to do it in Zelda and stuff like that until we stopped. So I thought it would be probably a good idea to like do all of the DMing and then do all of the audio and then do all of the voice acting. The problem with that is that I also kind of lost the voices like halfway through a lot of them. Like especially Verilyn, he started from being very low and things like this to becoming a little bit Norse, which is a bit weird. So that's one thing I need to work on. Another one I need to work on is just the editing to begin with. So I have definitely sorted the editing out. Like for instance, let me give you an example. The changing of colours when someone speaks, I was doing that manually. Like literally doing that manually, like going in, copy pasting everything into like the track in the in Adobe, etc., etc. And then I realized, hold on, there's an effect called invert where it just inverts all of the colors, and that just did exactly the same thing I wanted it to do. And that was like 2 hours before the end. I'm like, oh my god, are you serious? I'm so annoyed. So like all of the elements of the I don't know, the picture, I don't know what to call it, the little top right thing took a long time, and all of the elements were actually in one title at some point. But then I thought, okay, that's really stupid. I should separate them so I can separate them. And obviously I separated them into like Asana, AC, and HP are all different elements. And the border is a different element as well, so that allows me to invert everything. Which is funny, really, because that shouldn't be the case. Oh, I just realised it only inverts the background, doesn't it? It doesn't actually invert all of the colours. I'm actually okay with that, that's fine. There's a few things I'm missing, like initiative I'm kind of missing as well, and I want to put that somewhere. I'm not sure where, to be honest with you, because I'm almost tempted to put like the health as a like percentage of the background and have like the health be a vertical number at the end, and then where HP is have initiative, because I'd like to have initiative somewhere. That doesn't really work for enemies though, because obviously HP is total taken and not amount, because I like the way I did it, I knew how much health they have, but I don't want me to know how much health they have, if you know what I mean, in the way of like I don't want to see it in the video. I'd like it preferred to be not that, especially with the not the crawling creature, the undead priest. Like I knew specifically he had like 55 health, but like I wanted to not set how much health he had and not show. And that's kind of the theme going forward. Like enemies you won't know, like you specifically, the user, the watcher won't know. Because I think that's just a cooler way of doing it, to be honest with you. So AC, I also like the whole like, oh, we don't know how much AC the undead mass has. Like for instance, the undead mass don't know how much AC. I didn't do the same thing I did with the characters as the enemies. As in, I didn't change all of the elements to be a different title, just because it might be a point where we're like trying to kill like 6 or 7, like, oh my god, I didn't mean to say that, like maybe 3 or 5 enemies. That would just be such a ball ache to do. I mean, I could do it in another sequence. I could do it in another sequence. That is something I might do. That would also be a massive pain. No, that would be a massive pain. No, I'm not. I wouldn't do that. That would be really stupid. No. But yeah, it's one of those things where like I wish I could group things up, but I'm definitely going to continue it. I really enjoyed doing the editing, like, and now that I've got like a good workflow kind of thing for the editing, I think it'd go quite well. But I think the only thing that needs sorting out really is the voice acting. I need to perfect like the DM's voice and all of the characters. We got the characters of Asana, Verilyn, and stuff like that. And like I eventually got Merrin's voice down. We eventually got Merrin's voice down. That was kind of good. But we obviously need to normalize the voices for Varilyn and Asana. The voice acting in this one was kind of weird because I messed up the recording of it, and it didn't have the filters correctly on it. So unfortunately, some of them are very quiet, which really annoyed me, but I wasn't going to go and resort them. The other thing that I need to figure out is how we're going to do questions to the DM, because I kind of want this to just be a narrative thing that has roles in it. For instance, there's a bunch of me saying, like, to the DM kind of thing, where like, what can Asana see in this? And I'm going to try and incorporate that into the narrative rather than saying, what can Asana see and stuff like that. I think that would be a better way of doing that rather than just saying like the character, as in me playing D&D with nothing, with myself, asking the question. So if, say, what can Asana see from her vantage point? Like, I would rather it be like, from the vantage point, you can see X. I think that'd be a better way of doing it rather than the way we are. But as it happens, like, this took me, I would say a good 5 to 7 working afternoons of 2 to 3 hours of doing this. And now that in 2 weeks' time, I'm getting back to a year in Minecraft. It's going to be difficult. So we've got editing stuff sorted mostly here, and that's fine. This did take me a while to record and stuff like that, but I think if we keep this as one a month, I think that'd be okay. I mean, this episode is an hour long. I'm almost tempted to put it to half an hour, so there's more than one episode per month, and then maybe at the end of the year, like, put them all together. I don't know. Anyway, I'm happy with what we've got. I will continue the session, do another session at some point, and continue it. So yeah, thank you for watching. See you next time. Bye.